Welcome back, and today we have a blast from the past. This is a Jiffy Kodak Series II pocket style camera. It takes 620 film and it is a vintage folding camera. So as you see, it is all in this nice little concise box. Would you call it a box? Anyway, and to take a photo in it, you have to pull it out. And so it has these bellows, and I am thrilled to announce that I have not noticed a single crack in these. This camera was manufactured between 1937 and 1948 by Eastman Kodak, and in 2026, I have it in my hand. I cannot wait to start taking photos with it. I actually was excited when I realized I have an extra roll of 620 film sitting around, so I don't have to wait for film to come in to take these photos. What about this camera? How does it work? What's some of the history on it? And honestly, the history of these cameras, I love to do. So when I am testing out these cameras, I love not only to figure out a little bit about how they work, but I also love to just learn about the history of them and what made them special, what created them, anything like that. So, I've already told you it was manufactured by Eastman Kodak in 1937, well, between 1937 and 1948. I don't know specifically which year this one was done, but it was made with a simple operation and a twin-dar lens, and I have no idea what that means. But, so if anybody knows what a twin-dar lens means, put in the comments. I would love to learn. But I got very far in researching and got really tired yesterday. And it actually says twin-dar lens right across the top. It has two main apertures. It is typically an f8 or f11, depending on whether or not it's dialed in to 5 to 10 feet on one side or beyond 10 feet on the other side. I'm kind of curious to see if having it somewhere in the middle affects it at all. But yeah, and honestly, most of the photos I will be taking, the subject will be beyond 10 feet. I think cameras are really fun when I'm testing out to take landscape photos of the beach, because how can you go wrong? Also, can you ever have too many beach photos? Right now, I have yet to find the limit. In true Mean Girls fashion, the limit does not exist. But yeah, with the aperture, it just basically focuses between those two ranges. It is not known for the sharpness of the photos it takes. So they tend to have a bit of a, I don't want to say blurry, but they have a bit of a dreamy, less sharp effect. And this one in particular may have a way, way less sharp effect, because I was testing out a couple different things yesterday, just trying to get to know it a little bit better, because I've only just recently gotten this camera. So I haven't had a lot of time to mess with all the bells and whistles of it. But the shutter does seem to stick. So after this testing period, this is probably going to be one that just stays up on my shelf with the rest of my collection, and it comes down to show it off to people or for special occasions, just to, let people see it, take a couple photos in old-timey style. But the shutter does stick. And what I realized is once I hear the shutter open and it goes, you have to kind of pump the shutter button a little bit for it to back. So I'm intrigued to see how that does in the long term. As I've already kind of stated, it takes 620 film. This is the same type of film I used with my 1950s era Anscoflex that I reviewed around this time last year. And I'm thrilled to know that I only used 2 rolls of film with that, and I haven't used the third roll. And I guess I was just meant to not use that third roll and save it for this camera, because I've really been meaning to go take photos with it for a while. Anyway, so I will be using 620 film black and white. And I really like that thought process of not having the color film for a camera that was made between 1937 and 1948, because I feel like those photos will really make you feel like you're transported back through time, and you'll just feel like you're sitting in that like World War II, pre-World War II era that these cameras were made. And I think that's just a really cool thing to think about. Also, I do want to say the lady who I bought this camera from was the sweetest. She was selling a whole bunch of stuff in like a vintage market booth. And while I was there and I was checking out her cameras, because she has such a crazy selection, I will probably be back at a later time to buy more of her collection. But she was the sweetest person. I met her at Antiques and More in D'Iberville, Mississippi. And she told me about all her cameras and how literally the first thing she said when she saw me sitting there was that they all work. And I thought that was really great, because you never really know. You're always kind of taking a gamble when you pick one of these up at like a thrift store or a vintage market, anything like that. You don't really know whether or not it's going to work. So her saying like she's used all of them work, I thought that was really cool. Obviously, as I've said, the shutter kind of sticks on this one, so it works a little bit less, but it is in fantastic condition. My boyfriend's dad has a bunch of cameras just like this, and a lot of his have cracks in the bellows, which renders them unable to be used unless you were to go through and either fashion a dark box around it while you take photos, or just to go and get a replacement bellow or try to fix it up yourself. And so having all of them in great condition makes me feel really hopeful for using this camera. But one thing I think that's really special about this camera as opposed to some other cameras is that it has two viewfinders. You can see the viewfinders right here and right here. And you may wonder, why does it have two viewfinders? Why does it have them in those such weird places? Well, glad you asked. It actually helps you so you can look through this is where it comes through the front, so you look through the top right here to take a portrait style photo, and then if you flip it, you do here for a landscape style photo. So one thing in my research people were mentioning is that it's very hard to take a steady landscape photo because of where the shutter is, but the shutter is this little part that's like right here, and you just pull it down and it's supposed to take a photo. But as I already said, it's kind of difficult on getting the shutter to not stick. I think I did about 6 different times where the shutter opened and closed yesterday, and every single time it stuck and I had to kind of like pump it back up. It was a whole thing. Anyway, and like the mirrors inside, you can tell are a little bit worse for wear because they're very cracked. There's a lot of like black pieces I can see where it's almost like the backing has come off the mirror. But other than that, fantastic condition. Especially, I would say, fantastic condition for a camera that was made in like 1937 to 1948. Because I feel like it's really hard to find cameras in this condition in 2026. So just to give you a little sneak peek of the back of it, first off, it's got a cute little carrying handle, which is nice. You can just kind of carry it around to see which shot of film you're at. There's this little dot back here. You just push that out of the way. It says you're only supposed to open it while you're winding. And I guess it's just to ensure you don't expose the film. I have one of these red dots on the back of my Anscoflex also, and it did not have a cover, so I don't know how much. Maybe they got better by the 50s. I don't know. But I will move that to see which number of film I'm on. I don't know if I've said this already, but this camera with the 620 film only takes 8 photos as opposed to the 12 photos I could take with my Anscoflex. So the photos will be a little bit larger rather than the square images I got previously. They actually will probably be the right height and width for Instagram, which is a weird thing to say, I feel, but that's the way I can equate it. Also, this thing right here, that's what I will use to wind the film. And yeah, but this bar right up here at the top, it has a whole lot of info about the camera. It tells me that it's 620 film. It's a Jiffy Kodak Series II and made in the USA by Eastman Kodak in Rochester, New York. Anyway, so to open the back, you just slide this bit over a little bit, and it comes off. And so you can see the inside, you can see the back where it says to use Kodak 620 film. And I think that's really cool. I'm just kind of seeing it. So yesterday while I was testing the shutter, I had the back of it open just to see if just so I could like watch it and see if it closed, because the shutter was making weird noises and I didn't like that. So yeah, I cannot wait to take this blast from the past out across the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And furthermore, I can't wait to show you my thought process of using the camera, or even just seeing the photos. Honestly, I think I'm most excited about seeing the photos for this camera. If you liked this video, please like, subscribe, leave a comment if you have anything to teach me about this camera, because I love to learn and I'm always learning new things, but these are just some quick details I jotted down yesterday that I felt like painted a pretty good, well-rounded picture of it, but I'm always looking to learn more. If you've used one of these cameras, please let me know your thoughts on like what your thoughts were of using it, if there's anything I should do differently of how I may be trying to do it, because I specialize in digital photography. I'm only about a year in of using film photography, and I don't use it all the time because of its expensiveness. I'm always looking for new things to do, new things to try, so please let me know. And if there's any cameras I should add to my wish list, please let me know. I would love to do that. But until next time, bye.